we're going to be spending like 40 minutes, 45 max. We're going to be talking about judgment, right? So what it really means, and taking from a very specific passage that I was given so that I could elaborate the study on this passage. We're going to be seeing what judgment means, different meanings of judge, when we do it in our life, what kind of judge we are expected to be doing and what kind of judge we are not expected to be doing, all right? We're going to be comparing passages with the gospel, with other apostles, and then we are going to be looking a little bit of psychological aspects that are the really motivation of our wrong way of judging. And then we're going to be wrapping up. It's going to be a journey of a little bit of philosophy, psychology, religion, and moral. Okay? Now, those who have received the message from Facebook, Sandra sent this as a picture, right? And I'd like to put it there because it's very interesting, because whenever you talk about judgment, we sometimes go together and we think of judgment and we think of justice. And sometimes we mix the two concepts, right? Whenever you're talking about judgment, we are really talking about taking a position, and the plates, they are not even, right? It is different from the process that she mentioned in the reading, that we're talking about justice in a whole process of adjustment, of repairing, of rescuing, of regaining the status so that the plate is really even, right? So we're going to be concentrating on this side here, not necessarily in the very equilibrium existent when you try to read justice. Okay? And I've written there judgment with E without E because these are the two possible ways of writing in English. And I know that one message in text message came out with E, the other one came without E. So both are right. One is typically British, the other one entered the American glossary in the 19th century, the one with E. So do not get anxious if you're writing well or not.
First judgment, right?
It is judgment, the very first judgment. Both are valid here. They are on that side there with the two plates. Even. Okay? Now, this is the passage that was assigned to me to analyze. Since it is a little bit blurry, I'm just rereading here. And we're going to be, this is our starting point. All right? So, do not judge so that you yourself might not be judged. For you will be judged according to having judged others. And the same, my computer sometimes does not fit there, right? And the same measure will be used on you that you have used on them. How is it that you seek a speck on your brother's eye, like a mote? In Portuguese, it's going to be coming as cisco or argueiro, right? But do not see the plank on your own eyes, right? Which is the beam, which is the log. Like in Portuguese, it's going to be coming as viga or trave, right? Or how is it that you say to your brother, let me take a speck out of your eye while you have a plank in yours, right? You hypocrites, first take the plank out of your eye, and then you'll be able to take the speck out of your brother's eye. So the very first thing here is, why are you judging? Right? What authority you have to judge? What's your moral condition to judge? Right? Are you quickly judging somebody else without self-judging? Because sometimes we have the very same. Perhaps I have a speck in my eyes and you have a speck in your eyes. Or perhaps I have more than a speck. I have a plank. I have a log. And it is so huge that it distorts reality. And the balance is lost the equilibrium. Right? So the very first point is this one here. And the other one is, before offering yourself to take the speck out of somebody's eyes, let's see if I can take out of my own eyes at first so that I will be in a state of. And we're going to be seeing how we do this in a very practical and ordinary way, right? Because I'm going to be throwing through feedback according to Spiritism, not feedback as corporate feedback in behavior, right? Now, what does the gospel say? It's a pity because I'm going to be guessing what is on there. One of mankind's defect consists in seeing someone else evil before seeing the evil that is in ourselves, right? In order to judge oneself, it would be necessary to see ourselves in the mirror. So it's sort of self-analysis before start analyzing somebody else, right? So whenever you see ourselves in the mirror, you're going to be seen as a third person. You're going to be analyzing as someone that is there in the mirror, right? Because if you really find identity without displacing yourself out of yourself, you are full of yourself. And if you're full of yourself, there is no space for you to come in my analysis. So I have to get out of myself so that I can analyze it critically, and then so that brings somebody else out of my inside myself to start judging, right? And it says also, what would I think if I saw someone else doing what I am doing? That's the question that we pose just in front of the mirror. So what would I think if I see somebody doing this, and if I do it, what would be the judgment of others towards me? So basically, in the gospel, they say that this quick, hasty judgment of trying to interpret somebody else without passing through yourself at first, right? It is an automatic response of pride, in the sense of, I don't need to analyze myself. I'm ready. I am perfect or almost perfect. So I don't need to look for the speck or the mote out of my eyes. Not even, let alone, the plank, right? So, and also, another thing that's very important, we're going to be delving upon it and analyzing, is in the gospel, in addition to say it is the ultimate response of a pride or disguised envy, it is an evidence of lack of charity, lack of compassion, lack of mercy. Because whenever we we just pick on people, or just jump on their faults, on their mistakes, or whatever, or in other religions say on their sin, what we are doing here is we are not being compassionate. Because our need to criticize, and we have to analyze why we have this need to criticize, right? So our need to criticize is stronger. So we are not going to be gentle. We're not going to be meek. We're not going to be generous. We're not going to be tender in our approach. Because we're going to be satisfying a basic, gross ego's need, the ego's need, okay? So, if pride is the father of many virtues, it is also the father of many vices. Pride is also the denial of many virtues. So we have to analyze, if I do this, what kind of virtue I am lacking, right? This we find exactly on chapter 10 in the Gospel according to Spiritism. It is inside the chapter that's called Blessed Are the Merciful. Because this is attached to the Sermon of the Mount as well. Okay? Basically, when we see the sentence we have read, what we are talking is this: put down the magnifying lens and pick up your mirror. So I'm just translating Matthew into a very quick and fast way of interpreting. Change the object, right? Instead of getting the magnifying lens, pick up the mirror and look at yourself. Okay? That's the very classic example that we have of a hasty judgment, right? Everybody knows about the story of the adulterous woman. I'm not going to be repeating here, right? And Jesus was very gentle, and instead of accusing, instead of saying, you are also sinner, he's just posing the question. It's opportunity for you to reflect. Let him among you who is without sin cast the first stone. So he's not finger pointing, you're a sinner, you're a sinner, you're a sinner. Okay. Visit your conscience, get your internal journey. That's the very first step, instead of rushing to judge, and decide to stone or not to stone. Right? Needless to say that each one left the circle, and of course that the old ones were the very first one to to live because they were far more existence on earth and they have collect far more vices, right? So there are far more things to analyze, right? And then he just said, go and sin no more. So basically, this is finger pointing here, and this is our way of interpreting nowadays the Bible. When you have this dude, right? It is here. You got a speck in your eyes, but I don't see the very log that I have on my own, the plank, right? So that's the time again to bring back the mirror, okay? Now, we have to think of this because it is the very same Matthew that he says that you are not the judge. So why are you judging? You are not the judge. Who entitled you to judge? All right? So we have to keep this in mind. This is one of the most controversial passage in the Bible. There's lots of misinterpretation, misquoting, because it says, judge not. And there are people that say, God or Jesus is saying, we don't have to judge. It's something impossible because we have to exercise your mind. You have to exercise your mental capacity, right? You cannot take it literally or distort it. Say, do you know what? If I'd like just to protect my error, my failure, my fault, my mistake, my wrongdoing, I say, the Bible reads that you don't have to judge, so don't judge me. So it's just a way of me keeping myself protected. There's a possibility. Or the other way around. I wouldn't like to take accountability. I would like to say that is wrong, that is right. It's written in our consciousness. It is the way it should be. I wouldn't like to look bad. I just say, no, don't have to judge. Lead for Jesus or God, and I just omit myself. So we may take both ways in a very convenient way and selective way of either being in the comfort zone or just being protected and setting a barrier and keep people at the bay. And that was not the purpose. We're going to see why. Right? Authority to condemn is a result for the moral authority of the one who does the condemning. So, Jesus, he judged. He's saying, hypocrites. It's a judgment. He doesn't say, hi, gentlemen, perhaps I think that you are not telling the truth. Right? Or he's saying, do not give the holy things to the dogs, and do not cast the pearls to the pigs, to the swine, or before the swine. But for you to judge, you have to have authority, moral authority. Because we have to separate things. We cannot be on the wall saying, you know what, right and wrong is relative, I'm not going to take in any part. No, otherwise society is going to be destroyed. We have to be firm to say that is the path. That is according to the divine law. That is a natural law, and I have to protect it. Right? But to do so, I do need to revise my eyes. Right? Whenever we have a problem in the eyes, we know how delicate it is, the treatment. Right? You cannot go there just to get it like this. An eye surgery is a very delicate surgery. The very same way I have to be very delicate when analyzing somebody and saying there is a speck on your eyes. Right? And if you also see, Jesus is just using his everyday language because he was the son of a carpenter. That's why he's using plank, speck, mote, beam. Right? He's used daily language, but it's in order to say, we have to be very careful to do that. Right? Which means that this maxim that we have to revisit ourselves at first before doing something, it is really a duty, and a duty that we have to do with indulgence. We don't have to do it aggressively, just to pour out or just to look at somebody's face, a smudge on the face, and with a very clear sneer in my face, showing that my superiority, my contempt. You see, you have something wrong. Or I believe that it should be revising your steps with a very ironic intonation. Right? So this is something that we have to be doing, judging. But how are we going to be judging? That's the whole thing here. Judging in the sense of discerning. It's not in the sense of accusing, in the sense of condemning or criticizing vehemently, or putting somebody in a situation that he or she feel like torn down. If we look at the Bible, the verb that is used is krinon or krinon, right? And the verb krinon in Greek is to make a distinction, to separate, to distinguish, to evaluate, to differentiate what's right and wrong, to judge. We have to know and be very firm to say, I know how to separate, and I'm doing kindly, I'm doing gently, I'm doing lovingly, but that's the way. So that's the judge, that this exercise of judging that we are expected to be using. Not imposing our own way or own value at the expense of somebody else. So, in this sense, when you see the meaning of in our dictionary now, whenever we or you guess the amount of value something carefully, you are judging. The amount of value of something carefully. There is discernment here. There is respect. I'm looking for value. I'm not looking for destruction. It's not a derogatory approach, right? You come to an opinion about how good, how useful, how successful something is or somebody is after carefully examine. That is discerning. That is judging with responsibility. Sorry, because you still cut the slide, right? You decide that something or someone has particular qualities you are judging, right? You decide whether someone is a good person or not after thoughtfully considering the good points and faults in his or her character, behavior, action, deeds, and lifestyle. And you are not judging the person, you're judging the displayed behavior of the person. One thing is to say, I believe that you are envious. I believe that you are selfish. The other thing is, you have just shown a selfish behavior today. Oh, it is temporary, it's once. When I say you are selfish, I'm labeling you totally. I'm reducing you to this label. That's not, this is fastly, quickly, swiftly judging somebody without accountability, without responsibility, without respect. Right? So we are talking about this kind of judgment and avoid the other one that Matthew's point out. There is a universal difference between being discerningly critical and hypercritical. Because there are people that are hypercritical. They criticize everything that they see. There is a need for that. Right? It's like automatism, something that is uncontrollable. They are not even aware that they are criticizing. Even when they start a sentence with a positive, say, but, however, nevertheless, and there comes the point. Right? It was just a way of disguising the approach, but there comes the point. To the point that we know that the person is characterized such that you're already waiting for the but. Because that's not a person that really evaluates carefully, thoughtfully, and see the qualities. Right? It's just a person that is labeling. Okay? A discerning spirit is constructive, a hypercritical spirit is destructive. And this one, the latter one, does not refrain from condemning judgment. There is this need to do so, right? And coming back here, we have to think of blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. So if we do so destructively, we are going to be receiving so, because we are leaving room for such, not only for a return from our own mates or our own friends or colleagues or workmates or any other individual, but also for the whole universe to work to bring me to the situation to repair, to get to the justice point. Right? Now, so when we judge, we should not be fault finders. We have to revise if what I'm evaluating is just for the sake of evaluating or to show off somehow or to show predominance of my point of view. Why I'm looking at the fault. There is a reason for that, right? So we should not find much to criticize or complain about something that is especially small or of petty nature, right? Something that is really, really insignificant. We should not pick on people, jump on their failure, or criticize their faults. We should not first spot the flaws of others and spread the news. That's the second part. Because one thing that when you identify the fault or the failure or mistake, keep it to yourself. But because when you start replicating, you're being an amplifier of, and there must be a reason for that. We have to ask, if I'm doing this, what is there inside my mind? What is motivating me to do so? What is it providing me as a good situation to learn about a trait of my personality. Okay? So, we should not be fault finders. We must not be, and I love this expression, spiritual vulture. You know the bird vulture?
Yeah.
That eat corpse? That, okay? That's opened the door for obsessions as well. Because you're going to have lots of people doing the same. So, like vultures of the air that live off rotting dead flesh, we cannot be sad individuals who thrive on the mistakes and failures or sin of others. We should not fly across the landscape, keeping a close eye out for the faults of others, and then for the daily banquet, feast. Because there are people there all the time, oh, there's a mistake there. No, I think should not do this way here. Because I'm looking for the opportunity to correct, to control, to put my stamp. And we have to think about, perhaps we have a son like this, or my mother's like this, or my nephew's like this, or I am like this. But we have to think why, right? So, think of this. These are the vultures, the spirit vulture. So whenever you see you or somebody doing something like this, oh, the vulture is obsessing me. I'm here to pick up rotten things, right? Now, the imperfection comes partly from our spiritual pride and pride for our disguised envy. We criticize others in order to bring them down to our level. I love this sentence. Because sometimes we don't know how to elevate, how to edify, how to stand out. Okay, I'll bring everybody down. Let's level with me, right? Or tear them down to prove that they are really beneath us. So there are two attempts here, putting beneath you or putting at your same level whenever you're trying to spot mistake without doing the first review or revise your own behavior, okay? Fault finding is a deadly disease because if not kept in check, it turns us into cynics who expect the worst from others. Oh, now is the turn for somebody to do the reading. Oh, now is the turn for somebody to leave the lecture. Oh, now is the turn for somebody to have the study. And I'm here just at the back looking, waiting for the there's a mistake there. Or at work, right? Executive committee board meeting. I'm waiting for somebody to do something I'm quite sure is going to be doing it wrong. Then I have this near my face, right? So that's the judgment that we should be. That's the whole story of the moat and the plank or the log, right? The fault finder expects failure and secretly gloats like deriving satisfaction at the failures of the other ones. Now, in other words, what is Matthew is telling us when you're judging the other is that you should not engage in self-righteous. We have to know what is right. Righteousness according, that is in our conscience, you know, is spiritist, right? We know in the laws, but self-righteous, it is, I am dictating, it's my law. It's not the law that everybody has. Because whenever we say, I'm not going to be doing to you what I wouldn't like you to do to me, I'm admitting that everybody has righteousness inside their own mind. But when I jump just to get the mistake, I am engaged in self-righteousness, in loveless. That's not merciful. There is no compassion. There is no charity. There is no love. It's harsh. It's very fast. It's not going to be merciful, and it's going to be a way of just making despising criticism, showing disdain, accusing, condemning mercilessly. Right? Sometimes, let's see what we do, because so far it was theoretical, right? Let's see what we do. Sometimes we blow small things out of proportion. We exaggerate it. Just by exaggerating, I think that Carlos always does that. He frequently, this always and frequently, it's killing me, right? Because it's generalizing, it's trying to set a behavior as if it's part of my own trait of personality, and I'm caught in it, imprisoned in it, right? Or we maximize imperfection, faults, foibles, like very petty things, small things, right, of the other. We come quick, hasty, negative conclusions, and we make mountains of molehills. It was like this, and we said, that's the Everest. It was like this. Or, I believe that Mr. So-and-so should revise the doctrine because he said something, that's the word. And then destroy everything because of one word. Right? Now, very common situations for us to think of what we do, other people around us do, beloved ones do, passing along critical stories of others. Did you know that? Right? Having a strong bias to find others guilty. I'm going to be finding who to blame here. Right? Being too harsh even when speaking the truth. What I'm saying is right. It is truthful. But how I say it may be a way of distorting it. Right? Adding aggravating remarks when telling a story. Right? Could you believe that could you believe that she is already starting the whole thing? Right? Dismissing an unkind remark by saying, I was just joking. But I haven't released my venom, right? Oh, you're just joking. Right? But it's there, piercing. Right? Saying something critical and then trying to cover it up, to correct it, and round it up and wrap it in a different way. So this is showing our real motives, to look at somebody's eyes, spectrum, somebody's eyes. Being unkind and then quickly changing the subject. I realized that it was not so good, then I changed the subject. I made a comment, it was inappropriate, I hurt somebody believes, and then to mend it, because I'm not going to be saying sorry, I was not prudent, or it was not appropriate from my side, right? Please do not interpret as this because it was the wrong choice of word. We just changed the subject, very lightly, right? I'm just putting this here for us not to think that the Bible is something that is really there old times and it is in our bookshelves. The Bible is here, right? What are you saying? It's no everyday thing here. Now, telling too many people about what has been done to us, and I repeat, I victimize myself, right? Because I'm trying at first to convince myself that it was somebody else's mistake and not my. Then I continue repeating the story. Taking pleasure in condemning others. That's really gross, but that's the way that sometimes it works. Mainly in corporate life. I lived 32 years in corporate life. When I decided to say no more American corporate life, this is really, really tough. This is every day, bread and butter, right? Telling the truth to hurt, not to help. I'm not elevating you. I'm not making you more dignified. I'm just saying that you were wrong. But in what way? Telling the truth in a very harsh way. Military, strict way. Imposing the truth. And with sound effect as well, right? Putting others down in order to make yourself look better. Minimize our faults while magnifies the mistake, error, wrongdoing, sin of others. Use the truth as a club to beat others over the head, right? And say, well, this is the truth, you know. You just say it bluntly. That's the truth, you know. Who are you that you're not able to, right? So, very comes that we often inflate the faults. We could say that we are perfectionists when it comes to other people, but we are extremely tolerant when it comes to us. There are people that are perfectionists to themselves as well, right? By the way, perfectionist, it is something that drains energy, and you're trying to play the Almighty, you're trying to mime God, and you're going to be suffering somehow, either to you or to somebody else, right? That's a very good one as well. We find it so easy to turn a microscope on other person's mistake, because then you can see the greedy, needy deer. But when you're talking about you, you invert the telescope. This is a process. So there's something that you should be keeping. Say, oh, you're inverting the telescope now, right? Or ask somebody that you love so much, that the person loves you, be vigilant with me. Whenever I'm inverting the telescope, you flag. Because the person's not going to be hurting you. The person loves you. So the person's going to be co-participating in your growth, right? So that's the importance of the feedback here, right? That's the only sentence in Portuguese because I couldn't find the guy in English. But Carl Jung, he says that to think is very difficult. That's why people, majority of them, they judge. It's easy to judge fast, not the evaluation process carefully, thoughtfully developed. So you judge. You just put the label, right? And he says everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. That's an opportunity. Whenever we are irritated, we are pissed, we are very nervous, you say, there is something here that is my area of improvement. Otherwise, I will not be irritated. I will let it go. Just pass. But if I am blocking, right? And I love one of your seminars when you're talking about the hook, right? Very good expression. She has a very good seminar that when there is something hooked here, it is revealing to me a lesson that perhaps I'm in self-denial, I'm not understanding why, or I don't want to see, but there is something telling me that I have to revisit or visit first here, right? I'll come back to a very traditional thing here, just to give us some support, right? This was released in 1955, so it's been old, 55. Two guys, Joseph Lift and Harrison Ingham. That's why it's called Johari. That's got the two words that were coined by Joseph and Harry, right? And basically they say for us to understand us and to analyze us, we know that we have in the spirit book and have the gospel, the way of discovering yourself and finding you. This is just a support to start with. We have to think of what is known to others and what is known to me. What is unknown to others and is unknown to me. And they put like in a window or in 4 rooms, right? Which I prefer to do like this. And if I could find a better way, not necessarily they have the very same size. It depends on your personality, your growth, and the stage of your life. So basically, what is horizontal is what is known to others, and what is vertical is ourself. And it goes like this. There are 4 areas in our side. They are not in the very same size. They intermingle somehow. They are somewhat they are overlapping, right? And we may shrink one and enlarge the other one. It goes like this. The arena one is what I know about myself and you also know. That's my social way of behaving, what I permit you to know about me, the information that you have, what I control in terms of my acts. And so what I know and you know, there is nothing extraordinary there. That's the area that we have the very same knowledge of myself or knowledge of yourself, right? Then you go to the facade, which is what I know about me, myself, but you do not know, because mechanism of defense, I'm protecting myself, I'm shielding myself, I'm hiding it, I'm afraid of showing. I feel embarrassed because I have this trait, I have this personality, I have this habit, I have this custom. So I do not show, and I protect myself. I just bear and put people at bay. And the blind spot is the other way around. There are things that I'm not able to see in myself, but you are able to, because they cannot be the subject and the object of the very same analysis. That's why you have psychoanalysis or any kind of psychological approach, because this is my blind spot. I'm not able to see. I need somebody to tell me that it is there, right? Preferably somebody that likes me, that loves me, because otherwise I'm going to be learning in a very tough way, right? I will feel accused. And there is the unknown part that neither I nor you know, which is my possibility of future as well. And that's the area that spirituals help us a lot. Whenever we enter in an area that we're going to be discovering ourselves, we're going to be co-creating together in a very respectful way. So I'm not here to map and tell what is the speck on your eyes or what is the plunk in my eyes. We're going to be talking about why we have specks and plunks in our eyes. And sometimes I have the plunk, sometimes you have the speck, the other way around, you have the plunk and I have the speck. And we're going to be growing together because we don't know why. But we're going to be knowing together, right? That's why the very same guy here, Carl Jung, he says that who looks outside dreams, but who look inside awakens. It's a process of ourselves, right? Coming back to Matthew, this is when you look inside and you awaken, is the number 3, judge yourself before you judge others. And you're going to see that our just manifestation is wrong whenever you're going to be judging and speaking it out loud. It is wrong if there is an answer no for one of these questions. What I'm going to say, is it really true? If it is not true, shut up. Right? Is it necessary to say, or I'm just saying to show myself or to impose my belief or to be the dominant or predominant person in the relationship? Right? Is it kind? I'm going to be telling the truth for the sake of telling the truth if it make you feel bad, or I'm going to be telling the truth to enlighten you and help you to embrace the light. Right? Will it encourage you to go, or leave you really down, motionless, without force because I've torn you down? Right? What I'm going to be telling you is edifying. Will it edify? You're going to be elevating yourself, building something or no? Will it dignify the other person? You feel that you are really now more valuable as a person because you have seen a dark side of you that you are eliminating, and we are going to be doing together confidentially with respect, without not being the loud speaker of the dark zone to the whole environment, right? The order in which we do things is crucial. And this is, we are to judge ourselves first by asking, that's what Spiritism helps us, by asking God to show our own imperfection, failure, faults, and sins. So do I include in my daily prayer, could you please show what I am doing wrong? In other words, say, could you please give me wisdom and discernment so that I can really judge, not hypercritically, but discerningly, right? We sit and wait and pray for Holy Spirit to show us our weakness, our mistakes, our bad attitudes, our foolish words, our pride, right? Our need to run and control the world, our need to tell others what to do, our desires to have our own way, our anger, our bitterness, our lack of mercy or lack of love, our lack of compassion. So we ask, you know that if we ask, if we knock and if we search, we find, right? But we have to wait, right? Why? Because if we wait long enough, God always shows it to us. There is no one single example that God does not show. If you ask, illuminate, not give me power, give me the possibility of getting the test, a great grade, or give me the possibility of keeping my marriage right now. It's give me the possibility of discernment on a daily basis and wisdom to do it together. There is always be an answer by God here, right? And if we do this at first, we're going to display these qualities: humility, godly sorrow, gentleness, reticence, patience, indulgence, discretion, and charity. Because you're going to be thoughtful, benevolent, edifying, and you're going to be using kind words whenever we see a mistake, a wrongdoing, right? And there is one thing here is, remember that in the Lord's Prayer, He's saying, forgive our debts as we forgive. So we have to do our job at first. If I forget my debtors, He's going to be forget my debts. Right? If I forgive who offend me, He's going to be the very same order. I have to do first my job. It is in the Lord's Prayer, this first doing, right? And it's also the golden rule. I'm going to be doing to others what I like others to do to me. So I have to do it first. It's quite coherent. So Matthew is just reiterating with the allegory of a metaphor of Jesus Christ using the speck and the plank, but we're just reiterating the maxims. Right? And what all people say and expect. If you ask anybody, this is something that's real taken from my job, previous job, when I was before doing the feedback session, right, with them, because I work with sales, with salesperson, etc. I always listen to this. I would not want to be harshly criticized or smugly condemned. Right? They also, I want to be treated with consideration, with an evident spirit of love, encouragement, and desire to build up rather than to tear me down. right? And I wouldn't my faults to be overlooked, excused. They're open to say, spot my mistake. I don't like my mistake to be overlooked or excused, but do it correctly and with love. So that's what people say. So basically what we have to do here in terms of a feedback technique, the only thing I'm going to be pointing out is just two, right? Because we know that should be doing confidentially, we know that should be gentle in the words, but what I'm including here in this presentation is make sure our heart is right with God. That's not in any corporate manual, because this is really ethical, moral, and religious. But to start with, criticizing, analyzing, make sure that we are aligned with God first. And second, pray. The same way that we pray here, oh, please God, bring me light for this lecture so that I can transmit a good message, I can be the instrument, the tool of spreading your word. When you're going to be criticized, you have to pray. Pray for you and pray for the other person. The other stuff is only feedback technique. But that's something that I'd like to leave here as the message before finishing. We should ask Jesus and the Holy Spirit to lead us. Remember the Holy Spirit with the whole phalange of good spirits protecting us, right? In an inward journey to find our own imperfection at first, so that we are able to judge others with humbleness, sensitivity, gentleness, tenderness, and compassion. Right? Only God can judge the hidden secrets of our heart. We don't even know our own heart. How are we going to be judging the secrets of somebody else's heart? Right? Why? Because God judges not based on appearance. It's based on the real motive inside. Right? So God is analyzing all that center. Is this person doing it because it's his own need to do, because he'd like to look down upon somebody else, or because he'd like to express power, whatever. So that is also biblical. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. The Lord looks at the heart. And God loves the sinners, the wrongdoers. Jesus loves the sinner, but does not love the sin. That's why we have to know what's right and what's wrong. We have to separate what is right and wrong, because if we don't separate, just to be in the comfort zone, not to expose yourself, not to take accountability, or just because I protect my own mistake, we are not doing our job. We have to eradicate wrongdoings. We have to make this planet move and increase and go to the regeneration world. So it's not by omitting. All right? So, just to finish here, may Jesus grant us a new renovated life to experience the freedom of forgiveness. There is a freedom in forgiveness and the joy that comes from letting Him take control. If I pray and say, please help me to judge with wisdom, He's taking control, right? Lead our judgment process, keeping us far away from harboring judgmental spirit and from condemning others in a sinful. Here is really sinful. It's awful. Sinful way. So this is my message for today. Let's count on angels, Jesus, God, to cleanse our judging process and make it with wisdom and clarity, so that we can manifest it gently, humbly, and with compassion. So be it. Thank you so much, guys.